So hello and welcome to the first episode in my magic course. Now let me do a little disclaimer at the beginning of this. I'm not claiming to know everything and I'm not claiming to know the best version of every single move. What I want to show you is how I do things, how I practice, what the moves are that I think are important, and how these moves are most important when you're out working or out showing magic. So this is about performing magic, okay? This is not a course on how to do really complicated sleights that you're only going to do at home or in front of a camera. There's loads of stuff out there for that already. Xavier Spade, Chris Ramsey, all those guys are doing all the complicated colour changes and whatnot. This is about the basics. This is about what you can use to go out and perform in the real world. So we're going to use cards first because this is where most of your material will come from. In terms of working, it's only a pack of cards takes up one pocket, allows you to do like a million tricks. So this is where we're going to start, but we are going to head into coins, rubber bands, watch steels, all that stuff that people use at work. That will be taught on this course, but we're going to start with the basics, which is a pack of cards. Okay, so I know a lot of you already do magic on this, people that watch my channel, and understand that because we're starting from the very, very beginning, some of this may seem like I'm teaching you to suck eggs. That's not the idea. The idea is just to show you how I do my performances and my style from beginning right up to where I am now. So hopefully you guys can come on the journey, learn a little thing or two, or maybe if you've got a comment for a different variation of it and a source, you can pop that in the comments below. Please do. I want this to be a nice interactive set of videos for people to learn the art of card magic. Let's get started. Okay, so with a card trick, essentially you are going to try and find a card that the spectator is either thinking of or has chosen. That's the essential plot. And to do that, you need one of two pieces of information. You either need to know what the card is or where the card is. Alright, so what I'm going to start with this source is A, how to get a card chosen, and whether you're going to force the card and know what it is, or control the card and know where it is. Ideally you have both of those pieces of information and then you're really good to go. But as long as you've got one or the other, you can then proceed with pretty much any trick that's out there. So let's get started with controls. Okay, so let's start with the very, very basics in terms of grip, how to hold the card. There are different ways of holding the cards for different moves. I will also put a disclaimer out now. I am not ambidextrous, but whoever teaches me something, I learn it that-handed. So my dad is left-handed, my drama teacher is right-handed, and they pretty much between them taught me magic when I was younger. So I do some moves left-handed, some moves right-handed. So try to keep your cards. Most people with their right-handed will have the deck in their left hand, and that's how they proceed. I hold the deck in my right hand because I do most of it left-handed thanks to my dad. So we're going to call it on hand and off hand. Okay, so the hand that is holding the deck will be your on hand and the empty hand will be your off hand. So for most people, their on hand is their left hand and they'll do the work with their right. Okay, so just on and off hand, what I'll call it, rather than left and right, because it does get confusing. Okay, so this is essentially the grip that most people use for most things. It's called a mechanics grip. Alright, very simple, just got one finger at the front, three at the side, thumb down the middle. It just is so if you're dealing cards, this is how you'll hold the cards. If you're doing top changes and double lifts and things, this is the grip you're going to use. This is the mechanics grip, so I'm sure you already know, but if you don't, just get used to holding the deck like this. Alright, there are different ways of doing it. There are high, low and different types of grip, but we'll get to that when we need to. For now, just get used to doing this. The other main grip that is used is called a biddle grip, and now that is just where the off hand becomes the on hand and you hold the deck from the top with your thumb at the back, three fingers down the front and one finger on top. Okay, and this is for using things like dribbles, when you're doing different counts and things like this. So that's the two main ways of holding a deck: mechanics grip and biddle grip. Any other grips I will get to as and when the course requires. When getting a card chosen from the deck, my philosophy on this is, when I'm doing the card being chosen, I try to be as natural as possible. I try and do things that the spectator themselves could probably do. I don't like to do like a lapel spread or a really sort of perfect fan, all this sort of stuff. I don't do that straight away, only because I want to disarm my spectator into thinking you know, they recognise these moves, they can do the moves themselves. They tend to, if you go in really flash at the beginning, a spectator sort of is, they're impressed with what you're doing, but they're also on their guard, and they sort of think, well, he knows, you know, how to handle cards really well, and they're sort of wanting to catch you out from the very beginning. Okay, so just my, we will go through some lapel spreads and all that sort of stuff later on. In fact, I'll probably get a guest in just to do those for me, because I've never learnt them for that very reason. All right. So how I like to spread when I offer a card out is to just be very, very casual, very messy. I tend to turn my head, and just, it makes things like forcing a card much easier, which we'll get to later on as well. You really want to disarm them. If you don't seem to care that much about the cards, they're not going to seem to care that much about catching you out. That's the sort of psychology that I found. Okay, so from Mechanics Grip, we're just going to push cards across, keeping your fingers underneath, and it's going to be very, very casual. Okay, so this is how I like to get cards chosen. When I do multiple selections, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, again, I just like to turn my head, and the fan will get messier and messier as I go, and I just say, yeah, dive in, help yourself. They're all different, it's fine. The more you seem to care, less you seem to care about the deck, the less they will try and catch you out, I promise. So I'm not going to get started with the fans and everything else now. We will get to that later on, but I'm just going to show you now in terms of having a card chosen and then controlled. I like to be very, very fair. Just, I say, disarms the audience just a little bit more. So card chosen, doesn't matter. Now at this point in any trick, you want this card to either be, you know what it is already, or you're going to know where it goes back in the deck. Okay, so I'll show you a basic control that you can practice, and it's a really disarming control, because again, you're looking so casual. So following on from the very fair kind of take the card, they have a look at it. Okay, Queen of Spades. Now I just say, now normally you'll get this put back in the middle as we get more advanced in what we're doing, but for this one, this control, all I do is I say pop the card on or chuck the card on. I don't say place it on top. As soon as you say place it on top, you're giving them a very specific instruction that they will naturally want to say, well, no, I want to put it in, I want to put it in the middle, I want to put it where I want to put it. So but just by sort of very casually with your head turned, just say, I'll chuck it on. They chuck it on, and you do this following sequence of moves. You're going to do an overhand shuffle. Now overhand shuffle, obviously you're going to just bring the cards up, so they're still in your on hand, but your thumb is on the back of the card, your fingers are on the face of the cards like this. Now a normal, excuse me, a normal overhand shuffle is just literally your offhand will pick up the deck. As you come down, your thumb will just drag a few cards off the top. You'll come back over and then drag some more on top of that and some more on top of this. So this is the classic kind of overhand shuffle, and it's used to do a lot of the card controls with the basic sort of techniques that you'll use when you first start out. You'll use this shuffle quite a lot to give the impression of shuffling the deck when you're not. Okay, so if you don't do the shuffle already, just practice that. It's very, very simple. Pull some cards off, over you go, and square up. Now what you're going to do is approximate that shuffle with their card. Now there are two ways of doing this. I'll show you both. The first way is just to run this card from the top to the bottom, back to the top again, whilst you're shuffling the cards in the middle. So the top card, all you're going to do here is take your thumb and take the top one, shuffle off, okay, which will bring that card to the face of the deck. And then when you want to keep it there on the face, you take the top and the bottom cards. So you're not going to pull these down. You're going to put your thumb on the back, fingers on the face, and just use friction to hold them there as you pull these up and carry on shuffling. Now this is not something that you want to have people burning your hands on. This is something you want to do whilst you are talking to the spectator about what's going on in the trick. Okay, so it's kind of a, you don't want to be looking at your hands when you do this. You don't want them to be looking at your hands when you do this, okay? That'll keep it on the bottom. If you want to bring it back to the top, all you're going to do now is, rather than holding the top and the bottom card together, you're going to just run that top card down again, alright, like this. But this time, as you're running these cards off in the shuffle, you're going to run all the way to the last card, alright, to bring it back to the top. So this is the most basic version of just controlling the card in a shuffle. There are a couple of little bits which I'll show you now, but to practice this, what I tend to do is turn the card face up, put it on the deck, and I shuffle without looking. I'll be watching the TV, and it just means you can keep a track on whether you've kept that without looking at it. You can sort of look back pretty quickly and know whether you're still in shape. But this is a very basic manoeuvre, but you really want to have this down so that you don't have to look at your hands. There are ways of making it more deceptive, but that's the general gist of controlling the card that's on top of the deck. It wants to be done in a very casual way. Now, I've found with this, and this is a good time just to practice it, if you really are just starting out in Magic, just practice doing this. Now, you notice how I'm not being very clean, you know, I'm not doing all this kind of stuff, because as soon as you do that, you look like you know how to handle cards. So when I'm controlling the card, I like to look like just the same as if they were doing it, all right? So some people know of this technique, so it's something to do to start out. It's a nice way of controlling the card, and a great way of practicing your shuffle controls without looking with the face-up card. I have a nice little variation on this that I come up with, and all this does is it doesn't overdo the shuffle, but it allows you to get a look at this card in the action of telling the spectator that if you were to shuffle the card yourself, you might be able to cheat. So I want you to shuffle the cards. So you're actually doing what you say you're not going to do, which is always very satisfying in Magic. So let's have a look at this. So now, the different way I do this, when the card goes on, remember just chuck this on, I immediately start doing these words to match this action. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of shuffling one card to the bottom like this, instead of doing that, I'm going to do the move as if I was holding it on the bottom. So I'm going to take the top and the bottom card, keep the friction, okay, so the card's on top at the moment, keep the friction here, so I can lift up, and those two will come off. Remember, you're not putting those down, that becomes very obvious. You're going to just hold them there as you come up, and shuffle off, and you say, if I were to shuffle these cards myself, now as you do this, you turn and you gesture, which shows that it's not on the bottom of the deck, and you can even, if you want, say, I might be able to know where it is. It's not anywhere obvious, but if I was to guess, I'd probably say it was about here. Now all I'm doing at this point here is I've taken the bottom card and just popped it in the middle of the deck. Okay, and what this does is it exposes the next card, which is their card. So you're just looking square on at this card as you sort of say, I want to make this as fair as I can. If I was to guess, I'd say it was about here. Now I don't want you to think I've got an idea of where that is, so can you shuffle them? Okay, so what you've done in that action of saying, I don't want to shuffle the cards because if I shuffle, I'll know where it is, so I want you to shuffle the cards. You literally shuffle the cards so you know what it is, and then handed them off. So you're doing exactly what you're telling them you don't want to do. It's very, very cool, very deceptive. So again, mechanics grip. We'll keep the same card so we don't get confused. You offer a card out, they take it out, any card. All right, you don't see it at this point. You don't really make a big deal. Have a look at it, remember what it is and all that stuff. And again, I use language like, have a look at it, remember, because they know, pick a card, look at it, remember it, put it back. They know that sequence of words, and it's very cliche, and they kind of go into autopilot when they're watching. So when you say things like, yeah, have a look at it, all that stuff, they're sort of realising that you see Magic the same way they do, and that it tends to be quite samey. So you're just going to turn your head. I know you can't see it, but my head is just turned off to the side here. I say just chuck it on. Here are the actions, words, how they go at the same time. Now listen, if I was to shuffle the cards, I might have a rough idea where that card is. It's not top or bottom, obviously, but if I was to guess, I'd say it was about here. But I don't want you to think I know, so I want you to shuffle the cards. Seems really fair, right? Now I know, obviously, know that's the Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Spades. So go through the actions one more time very quickly. Let's find that Queen again so we're not changing cards up. Okay, so they get the card, they choose the card out. Fine, have a look. And get them to shuffle the cards at the beginning if they want, just again to alleviate any sort of thoughts of a trick deck. They look at the cards, they chuck it on. Now listen, I don't want to shuffle the deck as you shuffle the deck. Top and bottom cards are gripped. Don't pull down, pull up. Shuffle over. As you say, I don't want to shuffle the cards. There's a very good chance I'll know where it is. Now this is saying it's not on the bottom without saying it's not on the bottom. So you're just going to gesture. You can, if you want, over things, say, look, it's not top or bottom, obviously. In fact, if I was to guess, I would say, now from this angle, this is what it looks like. Sorry about the light. If I was to guess, I would say that it was about here. That's how much of a peek you're getting. You're looking at the whole card, but from this way around, if I was to guess, I'd say it was about here, but I don't want you to think that I've got any clue. So I want to, and then generally shuffle that into the middle. As you say, I want you to shuffle the cards. And then they will now shuffle the cards. So what you've done is you have obtained where the card is at first by putting it to the second to the bottom. And then you obtain the information of what the card is by doing the peek. As you explain, I don't want to shuffle the cards and know where it is, so you shuffle the cards. Okay, that's a really nice control, followed by a peek. Because what happens now is the audience member can shuffle the cards, and you are in prime position to take the cards back and just go through, or get really lucky and shuffle it to the face. Just go through and find the card and then get on with whichever trick it is that you want to do. So that is controlling the card with the overhand shuffle. I'll give you a couple of different examples of how you could use that without the peek and without the kind of over the top words and actions. That you can't use it every time because people will start to see a pattern. So again, you can have the card put back on top and you can shuffle for ages. You can talk about it. You can, if you want, shuffle it to the bottom and have a peek, but I find that as soon as you look down, they'll see you looking at that. It's much nicer for me to sort of gesture and show that it's not there before I get the peek, but you can peek it as you're shuffling like this. Yeah, so you can have a little peek, but again, I like to shuffle looking at the spectator and talking and not really looking at my hands when I shuffle. Okay, you can shuffle that back to the top, and now as we get down the line a little bit, you could do, as you hand the deck off to be shuffled, you could palm that card out and so on. So there are different ways that that method will come into play, but it's a really, really solid method to use when you're out and about. For people that don't know magic, it will just fly by and you'll be ahead of the game, which is what you want. That is the overhand shuffle control. Okay, I'm going to add this little bit in just because I don't think this bit warrants a video of its own, but it's something again you could embellish the overhand shuffle control with, which is a riffle shuffle control as well. Okay, so again, the very basics of this. Let's find that queen. So again, there are very many ways to shuffle the deck. If you wanted to do a riffle shuffle, now obviously for a riffle shuffle, if you don't do that already, you are going to take the cards in your on hand, and you're going to hold them upright like this, so you can riffle half the deck onto your fingers here. This first thing will come over the top so that you can pivot that round to here using these fingers. Okay, so that's the control. This finger goes over here, which will be the control to stop the cards going everywhere as you pivot up to that thumb. Okay, because that's the bit you see when people don't do it. They don't know how to get from these cards round to here, and you don't want to be doing that. You want to be just looking smooth. All right, so again, very simple. Onto your hand, finger over the top and up. And what you're going to do here is you're going to put your first fingers behind the cards and bend a little bit, so you can pop those into each other like this. Now you can do a soft shuffle, which I like, which is just to push those in. Okay, or you can do the bridge. Now the bridge on this is very simple. You just bring these together, so you've got an overlap. Now what you're going to do here is put your thumbs on the back at the top and curl your fingers underneath, which will give you the ability to bend these cards in and create the pressure. Okay, so you're holding up with your thumbs here and your fingers are curled in so you can come round. Now you're going to let go of the pressure with your fingers at the bottom. Okay, it's kind of hard to do slowly. Yeah, you're going to let the pressure go with your fingers and keep the thumb nice and... Alright, so that's the riffle shuffle, and a lot of people do this again that you'll be performing too. And what's nice about it is you don't have to always do things that look like you're miles better than them. If you're doing shuffles that they understand, they will believe that the cards are really being shuffled. Now obviously, to do this and keep the card on top, all you're going to do is when you riffle off, you know the card is up here, you're going to start running the cards with the other packet, and it'll just leave the top card on top as you riffle off. So you can do it quite casually as you're talking. Again, yeah, so you're just leaving it here each time. The same goes to the bottom. you can run that card down first and then run on top. The only problem with that is it does flash a bit if you turn them over, or if you're doing this and they see it here, so that's not as good as having it on top of the deck. So if you combine the two now, you can have the card placed back on. You can shuffle it down second from bottom, so you can sort of gesture as you talk. Shuffle it back to the top again, turn them around, give them a quick riffle shuffle, shuffle off, say look, I don't want to know where it is, it could be about here, peek peek peek, but so I can't cheat, I want you to do whichever shuffle it is that you're happy with. So you can mix the overhand shuffle and the riffle shuffle, and these are shuffles that you probably already know that you will see spectators doing, and that's not a bad thing, okay, because you can start doing the flash stuff when you find the card, which is when it's more impressive. For this part, when you're shuffling and apparently losing the card in the deck, you want to be as casual as possible, okay? So just to recap before we finish this video, card is chosen nice and fairly, okay? Again, just spread the cards out. You can, if you want, go and pick a card and do all this stuff, and yeah, we'll get to those selection processes in a moment, but I really like just to, grab one, or even, you know, take one out, help yourself. Grab one, don't really mind what it is. Just disarms people. As soon as you're casual, they're going to be like, oh, okay. So we're going to pop back on. Remember, use words like chuck it on, or just pop it on here. As your head is still turned, chuck it on. Listen, if I was to shuffle the cards, I might know where it is. Alright, and I don't want you to think that that's something that I can do. Now, a little tip for you guys, don't say this horrible line. I'll give the cards a fair shuffle. Don't use that line, because it implies that you also know how to do an unfair shuffle, but for this, you'll do a fair shuffle. You just shuffle the cards. And you don't really want to be saying, I will shuffle the cards, and I will riffle shuffle the cards, and you don't want to be saying what you're doing. They can see what you're doing, they don't need subtitles. So just find something else to talk about, even if it's the fairness of it, even if it's just like, look, I don't want to know what the card is. In fact, if I was to guess, I'd probably say the card was about here, but I don't want to be in any way guilty of knowing when it is. So you shuffle the cards. See, I'm just talking to them about the process rather than describing the actions that they are watching, because there's nothing worse than having a magician who just does subtitles what they're doing. I'll pick up the cards. I'll take one card out and I'll place that card about here. I can see all that, mate. So yeah, find yourself other stuff to say as you're doing these very casual shuffles, and I promise you, you will be miles and miles ahead of your spectator before the trick's even started. Okay, in their mind the trick hasn't started and you've done most of the work. There we are. I told you we were starting with the basics, and we really are starting with the basics. This is a journey. This is not about one video teaching you all you need to know. It's a whole journey of how to get magic skills that will work for you in a public setting. So that's the overhand control with, in my opinion, the best way of asking a card to be chosen, which is very, very fair and rough. We will go to the fans and stuff later on. And the overhand shuffle control with the peek and the riffle shuffle control all must be done whilst talking. Okay, so as I'm talking to you now and I'm shuffling the cards, that is where people won't think anything's going on, because we're just talking. But in fact, one card is being rotated around, you know exactly where it is. You can do a riffle shuffle again without looking, because you know where everything is. Alright, so all that should be happening in the same way that you're watching me now. You can't even see the cards, they shouldn't be part of your mindset. Just what we're saying is the important part. When I show that I don't know where it is, but it might be here, we have an on beat, we have a, you know, come over there, look at the cards, and that's where you want them to look at the cards. You shuffle them, so I can't, you know, have any inkling as to where that card might be. It's just a really fair way of getting into it, and we will come to the point where I'll show you tricks that you can do once you're in the position of knowing what the card is and where it is. Alright, I'm going to be putting up 2 or 3 videos a week initially for this beginner stuff, because it won't take you very long to get those moves down. But what's important is you get those moves down enough that you can do them without thinking and without looking. That's the key. Then you're interacting, you're talking to your audience, you're moving your eyes, eye contact. You can start doing that thing which I'll talk about getting your personality out rather than hiding behind your tricks. That's the boy, which means I'm going to go see how he is. Guys, just practice this. Even if you've done it before, get these basics down and we'll move on in the next video. See you then, good luck and get practicing.